Hello everyone. I am Jikshan Singh Mahal, Conservative candidate from Edmonton Southeast. Thank you for coming today. I have the honor of hosting Pierre Poilievre for our Canada First announcement. Thank you, Tim Sabo, for welcoming us here at the Royal Tire Tamarack, a locally owned and operated business here in Edmonton Southeast. Today's announcement will level the playing field for local businesses. After this last liberal decade, with cost and crime up and our economy down, and under America's thumb, it is clear that the Liberals don't deserve the fourth term. It is time to put Canada first for a change with the new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, stop crime, unleash resources, and bring home jobs to stand up against Trump in a strong and with a position of strength. Pierre Poilievre is the only one who can bring change to Canada. Here to tell you more about our plan, I have the pleasure of introducing the only man who can stop Mark Carney, the leader of Canada First Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre. Please welcome.
Thank you very much, my friend. Great to see you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Who's ready for a change for Canada? Right on. You're all ready to put Canada first for a change? Yes. Excellent. Quelle belle équipe ici, nos candidats. I'm going to just introduce them all as Ziad Abouteif, Jeg Sharon Singh Mahal. We have Saeed Ahmed, Billy Morin, Chief Billy Morin. Do you keep the title Chief forever? Excellent. So we'll be calling him Chief and we'll be calling him a Member of Parliament at the same time. And a great story. Balanced his budget, brought unemployment down 2/3, economic development he did for the Enoch Cree, what we need to do for all of Canada. We have the great Tim Uppal, Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party, is here. Miles Barry is with us as well. Where's Miles? There's Miles. Thank you very much for your candidacy and your hard work. And of course, the legendary Matt Genereux, longtime servant to the people of Edmonton. Let's give him a round of applause. I want to give a big thanks to the workers here and, of course, the owners at Trail Tire Tamarack, a real Canadian success story. For 30 years, they've been keeping our cars and trucks moving in top-notch condition with the best mechanical work, diagnostics, tire work for cars and trucks. Bring your automobiles here. If anybody who has a Conservative membership gets free admission to the facility. They are really a symbol of everything that is great about our country. Hardworking people, getting up every day, building our country, doing their jobs, paying their taxes. But unfortunately, after the lost Liberal decade, they are paying more taxes than ever before, getting squeezed on all ends by a system that rips them off. After the lost Liberal decade, there are two classes of Canadians. There are the hardworking people behind me, who pay too much and spend hours filling out paperwork for CRA. And then there are the global elites who dodge taxes using sophisticated overseas tax havens, who reap all the benefits of Canada and contribute nothing at all. This is life after the lost Liberal decade, and can you believe it? After doubling housing costs, increasing taxes by $10,000 per family, giving us the worst inflation in 40 years and unleashing crime and chaos in our community, this same Liberal Party thinks they deserve a 4th term in power. Worse, Mark Carney was the economic advisor that helped bring about the lost Liberal decade, promoting high taxes and inflationary money printing that gave us the rising costs and the shrinking economy that is now under America's thumb. Mark Carney did all of this while his company dodged Canadian taxes. Can you imagine? He was advising Justin Trudeau to hike the carbon tax and increase inflationary spending, while his company stashed its cash in Bermuda to avoid paying their fair share. Mark Carney, like all Liberals, is a high-tax hypocrite, making you pay more while he dodges his bill. Au cours de la décennie perdue des libéraux, les salaires des Canadiens n'ont stagné. Les prix ont augmenté et les coûts du logement ont doublé. Après que Justin Trudeau et les libéraux ont doublé la dette nationale sur les conseils de Mark Carney, votre part de la facture fiscale a aussi augmenté afin de rembourser la dette du gouvernement fédéral. En même temps, M. Carney utilise les paradis fiscaux pour éviter de payer sa juste part. Il a mis ses fonds coopératifs dans un paradis fiscal aux Bermudes, dans une petite boîte postale sur un magasin de vélos. Donc, il vous force de payer plus de taxes et d'impôts libéraux lorsqu'il évite de payer sa propre facture, et il est toujours investi dans la même entreprise, donc il a un énorme conflit d'intérêts. Now, the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal strategists making the same Liberal promises think they deserve a 4th term in power. And that is the choice in this coming election. Do we want a 4th Liberal term of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb? Or is it time for a change with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources to bring home our jobs, and stand up to the Americans from a position of strength by putting Canada first? That's the choice. That's the choice. C'est les mêmes députés libéraux, les mêmes ministres libéraux, les mêmes promesses libérales. Après la décennie perdue libérale, le choix dans les élections est le suivant. Est-ce qu'on va donner aux libéraux un 4e mandat pour hausser les prix, les taxes et la criminalité et affaiblir notre économie face aux Américains, ou est-ce qu'il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper taxes et impôts, ramener nos projets et nos emplois ici pour tenir tête aux Américains avec une position de force pour faire changement? C'est ça le choix dans les élections. Right now, Canadians pay more for government in higher taxes. They pay more in taxes than they do for food, clothing, and shelter combined. In fact, the average family is paying $10,000 more tax today than they were before the lost Liberal decade. And while you scramble to file before the deadline, checking every line to avoid being hit by a CRA audit, you learn that global Liberal elites are getting away without paying anything at all. One of these insiders happens to be Justin Trudeau's economic advisor and handpicked successor, Mark Carney. It turns out that at the same time he was advising Trudeau for higher taxes, Carney was stashing his company cash in an offshore fund registered to a post office box above a bicycle shop in Bermuda. Now, he didn't pick Bermuda for the weather. KPMG says that Bermuda has no capital gains tax, dividend tax, or withholding tax, making it one of the world's most notorious tax havens. In fact, Mark Carney's company has been called Canada's biggest tax dodger. Well, while you're double-checking your tax return to avoid a penalty, Carney and his global elite Liberal friends dodge theirs, and then they make the government raise taxes on these people behind me to pay the difference. Last year alone, the Liberals, with Carney advising them, wrote off $5 billion in corporate taxes, including $1 billion for just 5 companies. Meanwhile, the CRA was busy harassing small businesses and charities, forcing them to rifle through old receipts from 6 years earlier, charging fees and fines and endless accounting and lawyer fees falling on the backs of businesses not different than this one. You can't avoid your taxes. Global elites should not be able to either. And that is why I will end the liberal two-tier tax system, where elites get loopholes and working people get audited. And I'm going to be putting hard-working Canadians first for a change. Here's how. 1, we will be naming a Bring It Home Economic and Tax Task Force, whose mandate will be to ensure that we close overseas tax havens and force the very wealthy to pay what they owe. My task force will specifically propose solutions to close loopholes that allow tax havens to be a source of evading taxes for the well-connected and the global elite. I'll also direct CRA to reapportion the use of its staff. We're going to have fewer auditors going after charities and small businesses and more going after international tax evaders. The goal will be to collect an extra $1 billion from international tax havens and by closing the loopholes that enable them. We will create a public name and shame registry so that global, multinational, and billionaire tax dodgers are named and exposed so that everyone knows who they are. And we will expand the offshore tax informant program, giving whistleblowers up to 20% of recovered funds when they help expose illegal tax schemes. En tant que Premier ministre, je vais mettre fin au système fiscal à deux vitesses des libéraux qui a profité Mark Carney et des autres élites mondiaux. On va fermer des échappatoires fiscales et on va faire en sorte, on va réduire le coût des audits sur le dos des travailleurs et des petites entreprises. Voici comment. J'ai déjà annoncé que je vais mettre en place un groupe de travail pour rendre notre système d'impôts et de taxes plus simple, plus bas et plus juste. Et sur le dernier point, plus juste veut dire qu'on va chercher des recommandations pour fermer des échappatoires et mettre fin aux paradis fiscaux. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que mon groupe de travail va éliminer toutes les failles qui permettent aux riches élites et aux grandes entreprises, grandes corporations d'utiliser un paradis fiscal. Je vais aussi réaffecter une partie des ressources à l'Agence de revenus du Canada, qui sont actuellement consacrées à harceler les petites entreprises et les groupes de but non lucratifs. Moi, je vais couper le nombre de vérificateurs, d'auditeurs et d'autres personnes qui font des vérifications sur les petites entreprises pour ensuite augmenter les ressources pour s'attaquer aux paradis fiscaux à l'étranger. Ensuite, on va mettre sur le web une liste qui expose publiquement ceux qui fraudent le système fiscal, les grandes corporations qui évitent de payer ce qu'ils doivent ici au Canada en mettant leur argent aux Bermudes et ailleurs. On va élargir le programme des dénonciateurs de l'inobservation fiscale à l'étranger en donnant aux dénonciateurs jusqu'à 20% des fonds récupérés lorsqu'ils aident à dénoncer des stratagèmes fiscaux illégaux. We will target tax havens, expose offshore fortunes, and bring the money home. All of this with the goal of reducing the tax burden on the people in this country. We'll do so with lower taxes for people like these great Canadians behind me. We're going to put them first for a change. We're going to cut income tax for the average worker by 15%. We're going to, so that their hard work actually pays off and they bring home more of each dollar they earn. We're gonna axe the federal sales tax on new homes to save them up to $65,000 on the purchase of a house. We'll cut energy taxes by getting rid of the entire carbon tax for everything, for everybody, for real, for good, for a change. We're also going to get rid of, here's the other idea we're going to have. I'd like to know if the small business, you're the owner, sir?
Yes, sir.
So, you know, the Liberals tried to hit you with a capital gains tax increase. I've got a way better idea than that. It's funny that Mark Carney was the economic advisor who pushed that idea while he was dodging his taxes. Here's my idea. Let's cut taxes on people who bring investment home. So I'm going to pass the Canada First reinvestment tax cut. Zero capital gains tax when you reinvest your gains here in Canada. What do you think? So if you sell an investment and you bring it here to expand your garage, hire more workers, invest in new equipment that will help you repair more automobiles, you will be rewarded with a full tax deferral while you expand Canada's investment. This will allow us to bring home the hundreds of billions of dollars Liberals have pushed out of the country with their high taxes. It will allow home builders to build more homes for our youth. It will allow businesses to provide bigger paychecks for our workers. We want to protect jobs in Canada, including Canadian-made automobiles. That's why we will axe the federal sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. Bring home our auto production. We're going to let traveling trades workers write off the full cost of their food, transportation, and accommodation. And we will back up the trades by training 350,000 young people to go through apprenticeships and work in great places like this. And we're going to unleash the production of our resources by repealing the Liberal no new development, no new pipelines law, C-69, the Liberal energy cap, gone, the Liberal industrial carbon tax, gone. We're going to unleash Canadian energy production to bring the jobs home to this country so we can stand up to the Americans from a position of strength. On va réduire les impôts de 15% pour que le travail devienne payant encore pour faire changement. On va éliminer le TPS sur les nouvelles maisons pour vous économiser jusqu'à 65 000 $ pour que les maisons soient abordables pour faire changement. On va couper les taxes sur l'énergie pour que les gens puissent produire plus pour faire changement. On va éliminer le TPS sur les voitures faites au Canada pour ramener des emplois manufacturiers ici au Canada pour faire changement. On va permettre aux travailleurs dans les métiers de déduire tous les coûts de transport, de nourriture et de logement pour voyager à travers le Canada pour leur travail. Et on va favoriser 350 000 apprentis pour être formés et avoir des grands chèques de paie pour faire changement. A new Conservative government will put Canada's economy, our communities, and most of all, our workers and seniors first. We will unlock incredible potential of this country. We should be the richest nation on earth, but what it takes is having a new government with a real change that will axe taxes, approve construction of homes, pipelines, and other opportunities for Canadians. And that is what is at stake in this election. Canadians have a choice. After the lost Liberal decade, are they going to bring back the Liberals for a fourth term of rising crime and costs and a falling economy under America's thumb, or are they going to choose change with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, unleash construction, build homes and pipelines so that we can stand up to the Americans from a position of strength and put Canada first for a change? Let's bring it home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now take questions from the floor.
Thank you.
Good morning, Saprit from My Radio 580. You briefly mentioned scrapping Bill C-69, and your announcement this morning further elaborated on that. You've promised to scrap C-69 and fast-track energy projects. How do you balance out the Indigenous land rights and environmental review processes, especially in light of the recent court rulings on Indigenous consultation?
Yes, you're a very good question. After the lost Liberal decade, Indigenous rights have been trampled by this Liberal government. Liberals blocked the Northern Gateway pipeline with Mark Carney's vocal, on-the-record opposition to that pipeline, even though 80% of First Nations people along the path supported the pipeline. They killed the Tech Frontier mine, even though all 20 First Nations communities around the mine were 100% in favor of it. And the Liberals are keeping our First Nations people in poverty by blocking the resource projects that their communities support. And we interpret Section 35 of the Constitution to go both ways, that we have to consult First Nations who are opposed to projects, but we have an obligation to consult also those that are in favor of them. The Liberals did not consult one First Nations community when they killed the Northern Gateway pipeline. And the result is that the 500,000 barrels of oil that we could have been sending to Asia at world prices every day are now going to the Americans at enormous price discounts. And make no mistake, it's the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal strategists with the same Liberal policy. And Mark Carney testified against the Northern Gateway pipeline. So let's not, because he has a banker's haircut and he wears a normal pair of navy blue socks, don't think his position on these issues is any different than Trudeau. He supports C-69, which means there will not be another pipeline or LNG plant ever built again in this country. He supports the energy cap, which applies to Canadian energy but not American energy. He supports an industrial carbon tax, which will make major projects impossible to go ahead. So electing the Liberals to a fourth term will mean higher costs and crime and a falling economy under the American thumb. What we need is a change with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, green light home building, pipelines, resources, so that we can stand up to the Americans from a position of strength for a change. Thank you very much.
En français.
Merci beaucoup. Très bonne question. Les libéraux ont ignoré nos communautés autochtones. Ils ont annulé le pipeline Northern Gateway, même si 80% des communautés autochtones étaient en faveur du projet et que ces communautés auraient eu des énormes bénéfices économiques si ce projet avait été allé de l'avant. M. Carney a témoigné contre ce projet. Les libéraux ont bloqué le Tech Frontier Mine. Il y avait 20 communautés autochtones autour du projet et 100% d'eux étaient pour le projet. Donc, M. Carney appuie encore la loi C-69 anticonstitutionnelle qui est opposée par tous les premiers ministres provinciaux, y compris le premier ministre du Québec, qui va faire en sorte qu'on ne va jamais avoir une usine de liquéfaction et d'exportation, jamais un autre pipeline, jamais de ressources naturelles et toujours la dépendance sur les Américains. C'est les mêmes libéraux, la même gang libérale qui ne va rien changer. Il faut que ça change. On ne peut pas nous permettre un quatrième mandat libéral de coups et de crimes qui augmente une économie qui tombe sous la dépendance des Américains. Il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va donner le feu vert aux projets de ressources naturelles, aux constructions de logements, aux réductions d'impôts, pour que le Canada soit fort face aux Américains pour faire changement.
Thank you. Next question.
Welcome to Edmonton.
Thank you. Great to be back.
When just this last December, when Mark Carney was still running Brookfield and economic advisor to Trudeau, he talked about a deal he had worked out where his whole idea was to change government policy and then have Brookfield invest. This was about jet fuel in Texas, where they convinced governments to bring in 10% biofuel by 2030, biofuel being about 80 cents per liter more expensive. So he is both advising, and then his company is signing $1 billion deal to profit. Stephen Guilbeault, Gerald Butts, and Carney's own wife, Diana Fox, is involved in the same kind of consulting. What kind of impact has this kind of way of doing business had on the Canadian people and on the Canadian economy?
Well, it's It's crony capitalism. It works against these people behind me. Let's just unpack what Mr. Carney did in this particular case. He used his political power to convince the British government to require more expensive jet fuel for air travel. And then his company invested $1 billion in the company that was selling that jet fuel. So if, God forbid, a family like the people behind me here want to take their kids on a vacation somewhere, they have to pay higher airplane ticket prices to fund this more expensive jet fuel so that Mark Carney's $1 billion investment can pay off. Mr. Carney is not a businessman. He is a political grifter who has used his political influence to turn decisions that profit his company at the expense of workers and seniors. And that is exactly how he would govern the country. While he was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor, he went on the record saying that he thought there should be more inflation. He thought it would be good if there was more inflation. Well, it turns out Brookfield, his company, profits from inflation. They get to charge higher rents on their tenants, according to their CEO. So he has used his political influence to rip off workers and seniors, and now, with all the political power of a prime minister, he continues to be invested in the same company, Brookfield, the same company that benefits by raising inflation, by raising energy prices, and by ripping off workers and seniors. Today's announcement is another example of that. How would Mark Carney ever be trusted to make our tax system fair when he's invested in a company that has billions of dollars of cash stashed away in an overseas tax haven? Of course, he never would. We need a prime minister who will put Canada first for a change, who will stand up for lower energy prices, lower taxes, less inflation, bigger paychecks. I've been spending my entire adult life fighting for the people who are here behind me today, fighting for their paychecks, for their quality of life, for their future, to bring home Canada's promise. Thank you.
En français.
Merci. Oui. Donc, M. Carney a passé des années à utiliser son influence politique pour profiter de son entreprise. C'est le capitalisme des petites amies qui cède avec l'influence politique. L'exemple que vous donnez, M. Carney a utilisé son influence politique avec le gouvernement de la Grande-Bretagne d'obliger l'usage d'un carburant plus cher pour les avions. Ensuite, son entreprise a investi $1 milliard dans l'entreprise qui vend cet carburant. Donc, il a augmenté le coût d'acheter un billet pour aller en vacances pour des familles de la classe moyenne, pour subventionner des carburants plus chers dont il a personnellement profité. Il a dit aussi qu'il favorisait de l'inflation il y a 4 ans, parce que son entreprise Brookfield profite de l'inflation. Il a conseillé Justin Trudeau d'augmenter les taxes ici au Canada en même temps qu'il cachait ses investissements dans un paradis fiscal aux Bermudes. Il devient plus riche en rendant les Canadiens plus pauvres. Et c'est exactement le contraire de ce qu'on veut d'un premier ministre. Encore, il a toujours ces mêmes investissements qui vont à l'encontre des intérêts de nos travailleurs et nos citoyens. Donc, il nous faut un premier ministre qui va mettre les Canadiens d'abord, les travailleurs, les aînés. Et c'est ce que je fais depuis toute ma carrière politique. Réduction d'impôts et de taxes pour notre monde. Ramener la production ici pour nous. Un système d'impôts qui favorise les Canadiens et non pas les élites mondiaux. C'est ça le but. Donc, le choix, c'est est-ce qu'on veut un 4e mandat des libéraux pour augmenter le coût sur le dos des travailleurs et aînés ou un nouveau gouvernement qui va mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement. I'll just say one last thing in English. Mark Carney has been getting rich by making the working class poor. We need a prime minister who will do exactly the opposite, and that's why we need a new conservative government for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. I want to ask
How
about...
did you like our rally last night?
Well, I wanted to ask about your rallies.
Thank you.
And whether size matters. I actually want to know about your rallies and what your strategy is and who you're talking to. Because you bring up things like woke mob, Century Initiative, bulldozing the CBC, I'm exaggerating, but getting rid of CBC HQ. At what point are you just talking in an echo chamber to people who already feel that way, or do you feel like these are broadening the tent of support to Liberal or undecided voters to get them on board with your campaign?
I think it's pretty broad. I think how many people do you think we had last night?
Thousands.
Well, that's pretty obvious. I think you can be more precise than that.
I don't. I mean, the party said 10,000 registered. There's reports of 15. I really can't say.
One last question. When was the last time we had a rally that big in Canada?
I don't know. I've never been to a political rally that big, I don't think.
You know a lot about politics.
Well,
You're a very well-informed person. I know that if there were a bigger rally than that, you would know about it. I think so. But I think it was pretty incredible. Were any of you there? Yes. Magic, eh? Wow. Incredible. Listen, I think to have 10 or 15,000 people at one political rally, this is a movement like we've never seen because people want change. They want to put our country first for a change. They've seen that after the lost Liberal decade of doubling housing costs, of rising crime, of taxes out of control, of our economy weakened under America's thumb, they can't afford to live. And what they want is a new conservative government that will put Canada first for a change. And that's why my speech talked about axing taxes, greenlighting housing construction, expanding our energy sector to bring home our jobs so that we can put Canada first for a change. That was the message yesterday, and that is the message that Canadians are going to vote for change on Election Day. Thank you.
En français.
Merci. Donc, merci de la question. Un rassemblement énorme, probablement l'une des plus grandes depuis des décennies. Ça représente une volonté des gens pour avoir un vrai changement, c'est-à-dire couper les taxes et impôts, donner le feu vert à la construction de logements, favoriser la production de nos ressources ici au Canada pour renforcer notre économie face aux Américains pour faire changement. Les gens ne veulent pas un 4e mandat libéral, ils veulent un vrai changement pour mettre le Canada d'abord, et c'est en votant conservateur qu'ils vont pouvoir le faire. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. We will now go to the final question.
Oui, bonjour, M. Poilievre, Laurence Martin de Radio-Canada.
Bonjour.
De nombreux Haïtiens en Floride, traqués par Donald Trump, veulent venir au Canada. Est-ce qu'on doit les accueillir au pays ou les renvoyer aux États-Unis s'ils viennent?
Je suis pour l'immigration légale. Donc, quand les gens arrivent ici au Canada, ils devraient montrer qu'ils sont, ici, qui viennent des demandeurs d'asile, ils doivent démontrer qu'ils sont des vrais demandeurs d'asile. Après la décennie perdue des libéraux, notre système d'immigration est brisé. Les libéraux ont permis une fraude massive en ce qui concerne les étudiants internationaux, les travailleurs étrangers et les faux demandeurs d'asile qui causent des pénuries des pénuries d'emploi, de logement et dans la santé. Moi, je crois qu'on devrait mettre fin à cette fraude et accueillir seulement des vrais demandeurs d'asile. Nous allons regarder cas par cas quand quelqu'un arrive au Canada, s'il peut montrer qu'il est un vrai demandeur d'asile, sans un bilan criminel, qui peut contribuer à notre pays, évidemment, il devrait pouvoir rester ici. Mais si c'est quelqu'un qui est un fraudeur, qui n'est pas vraiment demandeur d'asile, cette personne-là doit être expulsée. Après la décennie perdue ou avec un système d'immigration brisé et un premier ministre qui supporte toujours l'initiative du siècle, les Canadiens ne peuvent pas supporter un quatrième mandat des libéraux. Il nous faut un vrai changement pour réparer le système d'immigration, permettre aux Canadiens d'avoir des logements et des emplois et mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference.
Excellent.
Merci. Ça conclut la conférence de presse.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I can quickly just say, obviously, we, after the lost Liberal decade, our immigration system is broken. They've allowed massive fraud in international students, temporary foreign workers, and in false refugee claimants. Obviously, if someone is a true refugee, who are truly endangered abroad and they come in under the proper rules, then they should be allowed to stay. But if they're a fraudster, they will have to go. And the choice in this election will be, after a lost Liberal decade that broke our immigration system, doubled our housing costs, and put our healthcare system under enormous pressure, are we going to give them a fourth term in power, or is it time for a change with a new Conservative government that will fix immigration, build homes people can afford, and bring home the Canadian promise for all Canadians? Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.